What do we truly mean when we say we want to be happy? It's a question that often elicits an immediate, almost reflex, response from most people. Stop someone on the street and ask, and they will likely tell you they seek security, comfort, or the freedom to do whatever they please. Yet, if we look a little closer, we might notice that these answers often sound strikingly familiar, like echoes of a well-rehearsed advertisement, a vision of life sold to us since childhood. This pervasive cultural narrative, heavily influenced by modern consumerism, often equates happiness with acquisition and status. Marketing campaigns expertly weave tales of how the right product, the perfect home, or a specific lifestyle will unlock lasting contentment. This societal conditioning encourages a constant outward gaze, diverting our attention from deeper, more intrinsic sources of well-being. Consider the absurdity of this cultural instruction. If happiness truly worked by accumulating more, then the individuals with the largest possessions, the most influence, or the highest net worth should theoretically be glowing with peace and overflowing with joy. But the evidence, unfortunately, points in the opposite direction. Happiness, in our contemporary culture, is almost universally dressed up as possession and performance. We are told, implicitly and explicitly, that it is a matter of owning the right car, living in the right house, having the right partner, or seeing a specific number in the bank account. This narrative is not unique to Western societies. It's a global phenomenon, driven by interconnected economies and the relentless pursuit of growth. Nations measure their success by gross domestic product, GDP, a metric that often prioritizes consumption and material accumulation over holistic well-being or environmental sustainability. To many, happiness means standing on the metaphorical hilltop of achievement, looking down at the world below and proclaiming, "Yes, I've made it. I've won." This mindset is deeply ingrained, especially in competitive societies where individual success is lauded above all else. From early education through professional careers, we are taught to strive, compete, and excel, often with the promise that these external validations will bring in a peace. However, here lies a fundamental trap. If happiness were simply a matter of collecting trophies, then those with the most accolades, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most celebrated artists, the most powerful political figures should be the most content. History, however, tells a different story. It is filled with countless men and women who gained what appeared to be the whole world, yet never truly found peace within themselves. The annals of history and contemporary headlines are replete with examples of powerful individuals plagued by inner turmoil, scandals, and profound dissatisfaction, despite their outward success. The individual residing in a grand mansion often finds it filled with bitter quarrels, a microcosm of the conflicts that can arise when external wealth masks internal poverty. The one who chases endless romantic conquests often lies restless and unsatisfied, forever seeking something more that remains elusive. This is because, if true contentment had genuinely arrived, the restless hunt, the insatiable desire for more, would finally end. Our nature, it seems, is tuned for communion, for genuine connection, for belonging, not for mere collection of material things or fleeting experiences. When real, authentic contact, whether with ourselves, others, or the world, is missing, desire simply skims the surface of our lives like foam on a wave, unquenched and clamoring for yet more. This can be seen on a grand scale in geopolitical conflicts, where nations, in their pursuit of resources or power, often overlook the deeper needs for cooperation and mutual respect, leading to perpetual cycles of instability and conflict. The businessman toasted by admiring crowds, often dines alone in silence, the applause of the day fading into a stark, private emptiness. And if we look around, we observe a telling pattern. Wherever power is divorced from a foundation of inner peace, it tends to curdle into cruelty, whether in personal relationships, corporate boardrooms, or international relations. The morning papers, filled with stories of conflict, oppression, and injustice, deliver this sermon daily. It serves as a stark reminder that a person who is truly at peace with themselves has no genuine wish to spread misery or wield power oppressively. The modern world, with its relentless pace and constant pursuit, often looks rather like a collection of people running wildly round in circles, frantically pursuing their own elusive selves, convinced that the next acquisition or achievement will finally grant them inner harmony. This frantic chase is precisely what happens when happiness is tragically mistaken for possession or external validation. You find yourself chasing your own shadow, and the faster you run, the further away that shadow seems to slip, an illusion forever out of reach. It's crucial to clarify. Pleasure is not the villain here. A delicious meal, the embrace of a loved one, a fine bottle of wine, the beauty of art or nature, these are indeed marvelous experiences. But let's be honest with ourselves. They are fundamentally like fireworks. They flare up brilliantly in the sky, dazzling us for a brief, exhilarating moment, and then vanish into smoke, leaving only fading memories. If our happiness depends entirely on these fireworks, we will inevitably spend our entire lives chasing the next explosion, the next fleeting thrill. And between each burst of color and light, we are left in the dark, wondering anxiously when the next thrill will arrive to pull us out of the perceived void. This constant yearning for external stimulation is increasingly amplified by our digital world, where social media feeds and endless entertainment options promise instant gratification, often leaving us feeling more disconnected and restless in the long run. Happiness, by contrast, belongs to an entirely different order of being. It is not simply the absence of pain, nor is it a dull numbness where nothing touches or affects you. Instead, happiness is a vibrant aliveness. It is the quiet astonishment of simply being here at all, a profound awareness of existence itself. It is the recognition, sometimes so simple it almost embarrasses us, that this very moment, precisely as it is enough. Whether the rain is pouring or the sun is shining, whether the stock market is up or down, whether people applaud your efforts or forget your name, there is a deep sufficiency in the present moment that cannot be taken away by external circumstances. This internal state stands in stark contrast to an economic system that thrives on making us feel insufficient, constantly promoting the idea that we need more, newer, better, to finally be complete. Imagine you meticulously plan a perfect beach day. You buy your ticket, carefully pack your bag, and set your mind on hours of glorious sunshine. But the sky, as it often does, has its own ideas, and the rain comes pouring down relentlessly. Now, if your happiness is rigidly dependent on sunshine, you are trapped in disappointment and frustration. However, if you possess the inner freedom to sit beneath the rain, to taste the salt in the air, and perhaps even to laugh at the unexpected turn of events, you have discovered a profound form of liberation. This ability to adapt and find joy amidst changing conditions is a key aspect of resilience, a quality increasingly vital in a world characterized by rapid change and uncertainty, be it economic shifts, climate events, or social upheavals. Happiness, you see, is not about bending the world to your specific will, but rather about meeting the world as it is, with openness and presence. True wisdom, in this context, consists in accepting who and what we are, rather than struggling fruitlessly and exhaustingly to be something else, to conform to an external ideal. The truth is, most of us are constantly fighting battles, not just with external challenges, but with life itself. We are always rehearsing the future in our minds, anxiously anticipating what's next, or rewriting the past, dwelling on what could have been. We perpetually compare ourselves to the person next door, or more commonly now, to the curated, often unrealistic, lives presented on social media, and in doing so, in this constant mental activity, we never actually fully live the precious present moment. It's important to clarify that acceptance does not mean resignation, as though you slump in defeat and say, "Well, I suppose this is my lot, and I give up." No, true acceptance is a much deeper form of courage. It is the willingness to face life as it comes, with its inevitable triumphs and its often unavoidable disasters, its breathtaking beauty and its harsh brutality, and to be able to say, "Yes, this too belongs. This too is part of the unfolding experience of life." This courageous acceptance is a profound inner shift, allowing us to engage with reality rather than resisting it, fostering mental fortitude in an unpredictable world. When you begin to see life in this profound way, a curious transformation occurs. You are no longer a slave to external conditions or circumstances. You don't need the world to dance perfectly to your tune before you can allow yourself to smile. You don't need the applause of strangers or external validation before you can find a moment of rest or feel content. You don't even need tomorrow to unfold precisely as you expect it to. You discover a kind of freedom that kings and billionaires, for all their immense power and wealth, rarely get to taste. It is the profound freedom of being utterly at peace in your own skin, right here and right now. This inner liberation, often overlooked in the relentless pursuit of material gains, is a form of wealth that no economic downturn or geopolitical shift can ever diminish. So, happiness does not wait patiently at the end of another prize or after one more victory. It begins right here, in the simple, courageous act of acceptance. And acceptance brings with it a further, even deeper, discovery. Life will never hand you only the sweet, nor will it ever allow you to completely cast away the bitter. To truly accept life is to see that existence always comes in inherent pairs, like the undeniable presence of day and night, the natural rhythm of inhale and exhale, or the fundamental duality of birth and death. You cannot genuinely clutch one side of this duality and hope to cast away the other, for they arrive as inseparable partners in the same intricate dance of life. It is a curious mistake, deeply embedded in our culture, to imagine we could somehow have one side of this duality without the other. We dream, often subconsciously, of experiencing pure joy without any sorrow, of continuous growth without any decay, of love without the inherent risk of loss or heartbreak. But this aspiration is as foolish as wanting music made only of the high notes, or a painting created solely in nothing but white. The contrast, the tension between these dualities, is precisely the thing that gives life its richness, its depth, and its meaning. Without silence, no sound could truly be heard or appreciated. Without shadow, light itself would be invisible, its brilliance unrecognized. And so, every attempt to resist life's natural dualities is like trying to separate the front from the back of a coin. You can polish the front all you like, striving for perfection, but the back will not, cannot disappear. A person who insists on frantically chasing pleasure while desperately trying to banish all pain ultimately becomes a slave to both. For the more intensely they cling to one, the more profoundly they fear the other, and fear, above all else, is the true end of freedom. It shackles us, limiting our experiences and our capacity for genuine connection. But when you finally understand the inherent joke, when you see with clarity that joy is known and appreciated only because sorrow exists, that the rise and fall belong intrinsically to the same wave, then you no longer strain to desperately hold on to one side or frantically flee from the other. You learn to let both move through you, understanding them as natural rhythms of existence. And in that profound letting go, life ceases to be a constant problem to be solved or a battle to be won, and becomes once again, as it was always meant to be, a dance. Even if that dance does not always play the tune you had in mind, the storm blows in unexpectedly, the business venture fails despite your best efforts, the beloved leaves, you cannot command the music of the world. But what you absolutely can decide, what remains entirely within your power, is how you choose to move to it, how you respond to its rhythms. This internal locus of control is a powerful tool in navigating the unpredictable currents of a globalized world, whether personal setbacks or broader societal shifts. Suffering, you see, is intricately woven into the fabric of life itself, an undeniable part of the human condition. But unhappiness, distinct from suffering, is not an inevitability. Unhappiness is how we choose to meet and respond to suffering. All humans suffer in various forms and degrees, but not all are unhappy. Consider two individuals caught in the exact same storm. The rain lashes down relentlessly. The wind cuts fiercely across their faces. One hunches his shoulders, curses the heavens, and trudges on, soaked not just in rain but in bitterness. The other lifts his head, lets the rain stream across his skin, and perhaps even laughs, as if the sky itself were baptizing him in a cleansing shower. Nothing in the external weather has changed for either person, only the spirit, the internal disposition in which it is met. The storm is identical, yet one drowns in its misery while the other is refreshed and cleansed by it. This is where most of us fundamentally miss the point. We imagine freedom to mean controlling the weather, securing our fortunes against all odds, or bending the entire world to our precise desires. But that, paradoxically, is not freedom. It is slavery to conditions, a constant state of anxiety stemming from the impossible task of controlling everything. True freedom is the intrinsic power to meet whatever comes, without being irrevocably broken or diminished by it. It's the resilience to adapt, to absorb, and to continue. When you discover that your reaction, your internal response, is genuinely your choice, life immediately changes its flavor and meaning. A defeat does not have to embitter you for years. A significant loss does not have to reduce you to nothing. Even physical or emotional pain, when faced without desperate resistance, can reveal a strange, unexpected depth, much like a low, resonant note in a piece of music that gives a profound richness and texture to the entire composition. And so, the real question is not, will the storm come? For, of course, it most certainly will. The crucial question is, when it comes, will you stubbornly resist it, or will you choose to dance with it? This philosophical stance has practical applications, helping individuals and even communities cultivate resilience in the face of economic downturns, social injustices, or global health crises. And here lies the curious secret of enduring happiness. The world will never stop whirling in motion. Storms will continue to blow in, pleasures will continue to tempt, sorrows will continue to sting, and life will keep on tugging at your sleeve with its endless, often unpredictable, demands. If you wait for the world to somehow calm down before you can finally be at peace, you will, in essence, wait forever. The trick is not to attempt to still the external motion, but rather to find the stillness within it, a quiet core that remains untouched by the external chaos. Picture a wheel spinning at an incredibly great speed. The rim, the outer edge, flies round and round in dizzying, rapid motion, a blur of activity. Yet, at the very hub, the center point, there is perfect quiet and stability. Life is very much the same. On the rim are all the constant changes, the gains and losses, the successes and failures, the births and deaths that define our experience. But at the center, there is a serene place that does not spin, a refuge of inner peace. To live from that center is to let the wheel turn without being torn to pieces or overwhelmed by its incessant motion. And how, you might ask, do you touch that elusive center? It often begins with gratitude. Gratitude drops you instantly into the present moment, much like an anchor sinking firmly into the sea. The very moment you are genuinely grateful, the restless itch for something else, for some future perfection, immediately loses its tenacious grip. You stop constantly rehearsing the future in your mind, projecting your anxieties forward. You stop fruitlessly rewriting the past, dwelling on what cannot be changed. Instead, you discover that simply breathing right here and now is already profoundly sufficient. This shift from lack to abundance, catalyzed by gratitude, directly counters the consumerist impulses that drive much of the global economy, offering a path to contentment independent of material acquisition. From gratitude, then, naturally comes wonder. Not the kind of wonder that chases after grand miracles or extraordinary events, but the simple, profound astonishment of truly noticing what is directly before your eyes, the intricate shape of a tree, the graceful movement of clouds across the sky, the unique lines on a friend's face, the taste of a morning coffee. Most people rush through life, tragically blind to these exquisite, ordinary things, their minds preoccupied with 1,000 distractions. But when gratitude steadies you and grounds you in the present, the seemingly ordinary slowly begins to reveal its quiet, breathtaking beauty, and suddenly even the simplest moment can shine with profound significance. And from this fertile ground of gratitude and wonder, true freedom then arises. Not the superficial freedom of having the entire world magically arranged to your exact taste, but the much deeper, more fundamental freedom of no longer needing it arranged at all. Real freedom is when nothing, not the unpredictable weather, not the irritating neighbor, not even your own fluctuating moods has to change before you can feel completely at ease. The profound joke is that the very moment you stop demanding that life should be different, you find, with a sudden clarity, that you were already free, all along. This realization challenges the pervasive narrative that external control equals freedom, a narrative that fuels everything from personal ambition to geopolitical power struggles. So, the ultimate task is not to control the ever-spinning rim of life, but to consciously rest in its stable, quiet hub. The storms will still come, as they always do, and the wheel will still turn with its relentless motion. But when you learn to live from that inner center, you are no longer a hostage to either external calm or overwhelming chaos. You move harmoniously with life, and life, in turn, moves with you. The entire affair then becomes less of a weary struggle and more of an effortless, joyous dance. Of course, not everyone dances this way. Most people, tragically, look outward, chasing after mere reflections of happiness instead of resting in their own intrinsic center. And so, we come to the strange theater of idols that our societies erect. People so often bow before these idols, firmly believing they are gazing upon happiness itself. They see the figure with his 50 shining cars, or the one surrounded by endless lovers, and they whisper, "There, that is the life. That is what true happiness looks like." Yet, The idol is nothing more than a mirror reflecting back the deep hunger and longing of those who worship it. This phenomenon is exacerbated by modern social media, where curated images of perfect lives become powerful idols, fueling comparison and dissatisfaction on a global scale. For the man with 50 cars is not truly free. He is, in a very real sense, chained to novelty, bound to keep adding more, lest the terrifying silence of his own emptiness finally catch up with him. The one with endless romantic partners is not genuinely satisfied, for if he were, the relentless chase would undoubtedly end. To desire without end is not proof of abundance or fulfillment, but rather a stark indication of a deep, unaddressed lack, a thirst that paradoxically deepens the more it is fed. And the irony is profound. A person may hold immense riches in their hands, yet still feel a gnawing sense of not enough, while another, with very little in material terms, may walk in an abundance of spirit, overflowing with inner wealth. For possessions, ultimately, are merely tools, not treasures. They can serve life and make it easier, but they cannot, by their very nature, deliver its profound meaning or inherent purpose. You certainly need food, shelter, and some coin in your pocket. Without these essentials, existence is undeniably hard. But once these basic needs are met, piling higher and higher, endlessly accumulating, adds no true depth to the human heart. True freedom does not come from clutching tighter to what you have, but from gradually loosening your grip, from letting go of the desperate need for more. The idol paraded before us, with his endless appetites and insatiable desires, is not a picture of joy or contentment, but rather a stark depiction of profound unease. He shows us, perhaps without intending to, that when there is a gnawing emptiness within, no amount of wealth or possessions piled up outside will ever truly quiet that deep hunger. And so, the lesson becomes crystal clear. Happiness cannot be worn like a crown, displayed like a trophy, or borrowed from another person's applause. If it is not found within, authentically, it will not be found at all. Turn inward then, and you will begin to see that happiness is not something to be seized, stored away for later, or ostentatiously displayed to the world. The more you desperately chase it, the more it frustratingly flees from you. For the very act of pursuit is, in itself, an unconscious confession that you believe you do not currently possess it. Happiness truly arises when the chase finally subsides, when you no longer demand that life consistently pay you in constant pleasure or external rewards. This isn't a form of resignation. It isn't giving up on life. On the contrary, it is a profound act of participation, allowing the whole, rich tapestry of life, in all its forms, to move freely through you. The light and the shadow, the laughter and the grief. For what truly makes a person weary is not life itself, with its natural ups and downs, but the endless, exhausting struggle to desperately hold on to only one side of experience and push the other away. At every single moment, you are precisely what you experience. There is no inherent need to become anything else, to transform into some imagined ideal. And when you finally stop struggling so hard to escape yourself, to be someone or something other than who you are, you discover, with a profound sense of relief, that you were never missing happiness at all. It was waiting quietly, patiently, in the place you had perhaps overlooked your entire life, the simple, undeniable presence of being here, now. Happiness does not reside exclusively in possessions, though possessions certainly have their practical place in life. It is not bound up entirely in pleasures, though pleasures may delight us for a time and add color to our existence. Nor is it found solely in the applause of the crowd, for applause, however sweet, fades quickly into silence. Happiness appears when we stop insisting that life must always be different, when we truly see that joy and sorrow, the rise and fall, are not enemies, but rather inseparable partners in the same magnificent dance of existence. It is the sweet taste of acceptance, the refreshing clarity of wonder, the quiet peace of gratitude, and the strange, liberating freedom that comes when absolutely nothing has to change externally before you can genuinely rest at ease within yourself. And then, in that moment of profound clarity, you discover something rather amusing, something deeply liberating. You were never truly separate from it. It was here all along, tucked away inside the most ordinary fact of all, the simple, miraculous act of being alive. Thus, if humanity is to realize again its fundamental unity and harmony with life, it must often proceed by the somewhat roundabout way of trying desperately to get that which it already possesses, until it finally convinces itself of its own folly. For it is only by truly trying, by genuinely striving, to accept life as a whole, in all its complexity, that we can make ourselves deeply aware that there was never any real need to try in the first place, and that spirituality, in its truest sense, is in fact a matter of simply becoming what we already fundamentally are. Those who endlessly search for happiness outside themselves do not find it, precisely because they do not understand that the true object of their search is, ironically, the seeker himself.